Live from the CBS Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is CBS2 News at 5 p.m.
A dispute between neighbors turns violent, to say the least, when one tosses a Molotov cocktail over the fence. That bottle bomb started a small fire, then it was quickly hosed down.
Well, now tonight, police say they arrested the man they believe threw that Molotov cocktail. CBS2 Orange County reporter Michelle Geely is live tonight in Santa Ana with details on what fired up that feud. Michelle?
Well, you guys, this is ground zero, and the woman who lives here behind me showed me this, just one device that has landed in her yard. Now, police are saying when this firework is lit, because it's taped to the rock blows up, and that makes it very, very dangerous. Now, believe it or not, this is all about a fight over who owns too many cars on this street, because parking is at a premium, and officers say this has now crossed the line. Have you seen Danny with any kind of fireworks or explosives?
Never have. That's what they said, huh?
Santa Ana police are calling the neighborhood feud a modern-day case of the Hatfields and McCoys. But in this case, there's a 21st century twist. Video evidence, the officers say, shows Danny Noriega caught red-handed.
You can see he lit it, he threw it towards their house, and then fled on a bike.
Officers say 61-year-old Danny Noriega is upset about parking, or the lack of it, on West Maywood Avenue, and he's been violent about it. The neighbors across the street say they put out a fire in their front yard last month, and they found fireworks with green fuses taped to rocks, which were hurled over their gate.
Hi there. Howdy, how can I do for you, girl?
We knocked on the Noriega's door. The suspect's father, Ray, told us he's mad about the cars on his street, too.
Oh, yes, we have that. See, my daughter takes care of us a lot, and she sometimes can't find no parking here. Me, I only got one car. That guy in front got 6 cars.
You can see a dark figure in the middle of the circle in the video shot on December 15th. Police say that's Noriega on his bike, riding across the street, and at the same time lighting a fuse inside of a bottle filled with flammable liquid. There's a flash as the explosive device hits the ground and flames spread. The family inside is scared.
There are different ways to deal with issues like this, and using explosive devices certainly isn't the answer.
As his son sits in jail, Ray Noriega denies knowing anything about his son's activity. So there's video, the police say, of Danny throwing explosives over the fence, and then they blow up.
Oh, I don't know about that. I didn't hear nothing, you know.
Now, police say that Danny Noriega has a criminal past. He already has 2 strikes, they say, and this could be the 3rd strike against him. That's the latest live tonight in Santa Ana. I'm Michelle Geely. Back to you.
All right, Michelle, thank you. The state of California is kicking in some money that could stop the looming LA teacher strike.
And we just heard from the teachers union about where things stand right now in negotiations, according to them. CBS 2's Dave Lopez live at UTLA headquarters in Koreatown with the developments. Dave?
Well, just a few minutes ago, we were very anxious to get a response from the union leaders about what the superintendent said earlier, that more money is coming in from Sacramento. The governor has promised more money in his budget directly to the LA Unified School District, that the offer on the table will be new tomorrow, that it will include more money for the teachers to have smaller class sizes, to have more support in the way of counselors and nurses and what have you. But it was a very lukewarm response when I asked the president of the UTLA exactly what he thought about all this.
We are ready to strike on Monday if we have to, Monday, January 14th. If there is not very substantial movement that invests in our students and in our schools, we will be striking on Monday, January 14th. We go in with an open mind. We want information, and we will see what happens tomorrow.
Welcome to the strike hotline for LA Unified.
The superintendent made the surprise announcement while visiting a phone bank center that the school district has set up to answer questions from parents about how the schools will operate if there is a strike.
We just heard some good news from Sacramento.
Okay. Governor Newsom has promised more money for LA Unified, one day after Austin Butner went to visit his office asking for more money.
There will be additional resources in this year's budget. The governor will have to negotiate those with the state legislature. But it's our intention to propose to UTLA a revised offer tomorrow morning, reflecting this good news from the state.
And then he made this promise.
Our commitment to our educators, our commitment to our communities is to use every nickel we have to invest in our schools, If the state's going to give us a few more nickels, we're going to make sure those go right into the classrooms.
His staff made it clear he would take no questions. And just as quickly as he entered the room, he left. But the questions remain. How much money is the district getting? How much more would be put on the table? And will this be enough to avoid a strike? The announcement from the superintendent overshadowed what happened earlier this morning in court, where a judge gave the okay for the union to go ahead and strike on Monday, saying that everything they have done in preparation was perfectly within the law and legally they could strike.
Yeah, we're hoping that it's resolved as well.
The district then announced that it would show to the media the phone bank that will be in operation now and will continue to operate every day of the potential strike. And then Buettner walked in, made his announcement, and now we're awaiting a response from the union. Can a last-minute settlement be reached?
Austin Buettner's behavior, some of which I went over, does not inspire great confidence, but we will go in with an open mind and with hopes that we'll see a proposal.
And again, the superintendent promises a new proposal, more money, perhaps things that will appease the union, but that's a wait and see. You just heard what the union leader had to say. Those negotiations will take place tomorrow morning beginning at 10 o'clock right here at the union headquarters. That's a little different setting than before where they've been meeting at the school board headquarters. This time it'll be at the union headquarters. So we will wait and see if a last-minute decision can be reached and a settlement can be reached, avoiding this strike. Again, the union is not doing any cartwheels over what the superintendent had to say, but tomorrow maybe they'll change their mind when they see the proposal on paper. Reporting live from now in the headquarters of UTLA, I'm Dave Lopez, CBS 2 News.
Good update, Dave. Thanks very much. Hey, Beach Watch. We've got some high surf, and it is causing problems along the coastline. Now, it wasn't too rough here in Redondo Beach when Sky 2 was overhead, but the sets certainly kept the surfers happy. Up in Ventura, though, a little bit more action. The pier there was closed because of the high swell.
Well, the surf is being hicked up by a line of storms sitting over the Pacific Ocean right now. But when will they hit Southern California? CBS 2's Garth Kemp is here now with some answers. Garth?
Yeah, we were talking about that high surf yesterday up to the north, especially. It was getting radical up there. For us right now, look at the marine layer, though, forming. That is Malibu shooting off to the south, so we're getting socked in. Nice to see that. 59 degrees after a beautiful day today, though. Little ridge bumping in through the area. 64 San Bernardino, about 61 Ontario, 58 into Anaheim, and 58 up into Oxnard. High deserts are nice, as are the mountains right now. But things are about to change here. Several systems getting ready to move through the area. The first one comes Friday, Saturday. We'll talk about that. Then the heaviest rains next week that could really cause a problem. We'll show you in just a few minutes. Back to you guys.
Garth, thanks very much. President Trump got a look for himself today at what he calls a crisis at our border.
Yeah, Mr. Trump toured part of the U.S.-Mexico border in Texas as the showdown over the government shutdown continues tonight. CBS 2's Juan Fernandez joins us live in studio with that story. Juan?
Jeff, Susie, the president had a mission. When President Trump went to Texas today, he wanted to make his case for building a wall along the U.S.-Mexico border. It's the fight over that wall that has kept the partial government shutdown going now for 20 days. A crowd of supporters welcomed President Trump to McAllen, Texas. He came to discuss immigration and border security with border agents.
As the men and women in this room have told us what they need to secure our border. These are the people we went to.
Yesterday we had 450 apprehensions, Mr. President.
He also received a security briefing along the Rio Grande.
A lot of the crime in our country is caused by what's coming through here. They need the barriers.
Earlier, the president warned if Democrats won't compromise on funding for the wall, he could declare a national emergency. That would allow him to go around Congress and use military money to pay for it.
I have the absolute right to declare a national emergency. I haven't done it yet. I may do it.
The president is demanding $5.7 billion for the wall. Democrats say it would be ineffective.
He knows we all support border security and that there's a better way to do it.
Democrats continue to pressure Republican colleagues to pass bills that would reopen some government agencies and separate the shutdown from the border wall standoff.
Open the government. It's in your hands.
It won't solve the problem because the president's made it clear he won't sign them.
The president says he isn't worried about Republican support wavering because he insists the party is united in increasing border security. The president also explained today what he means when he says Mexico will pay for the wall. He says that country wouldn't pay for it directly, but rather through the new trade deal his administration negotiated with both Mexico and Canada. And he also said today he would skip the upcoming World Economic Forum in Switzerland because of the ongoing shutdown. I'm Juan Fernandez. Now, back to you.
We want
Well, here's some of the fallout. Workers across the country rallying to call on the president, not to mention Congress, to end this second longest government shutdown in U.S. history.
The AFL-CIO led the charges, demanding politicians do their jobs so that nearly 800 furloughed federal workers can do theirs.
29 years of faithful service to this country. I'm just asking to get my country to be faithful to me. Pay me.
We're just stuck in the middle of a political game that we want nothing to do with. We just want to do our jobs.
Now, for many employees, tomorrow will be the first time without a paycheck since the shutdown began. Governor Gavin Newsom unveiled his first state budget plan in Sacramento this morning.
The message we are advancing here is discipline, building a strong foundation to which everything else can be built.
The governor's proposed plan totals $144 billion in general spending alone. That's 4% more than the last budget by former Governor Brown. Newsom says 81% of his proposal is designated for education, health, and human services. His budget plan also includes money to increase reserves and pay down debt and pension liabilities.
We're going to put $2.3 billion in our operating reserves. I don't know what more evidence you needed of that. Then wildfires, add to that earthquakes, add to that, fill in the blank.
The state legislature has until June 15th to approve a spending plan.
All right, coming up, why Duchess Meghan is taking on a role the Queen has performed for decades.
Plus, a toddler wandering the streets in freezing temperatures. You're going to see who finally rescued him.
Then a company van stolen, chased through Los Angeles tonight. That van's owner tells CBS2 about how he saw his van live on TV.
And caught on camera, a theft right outside the home of a popular singer. See the priceless item that was in his bag.